Good evening. This is the Village of Lake Bluff regular meeting of the Architectural Board of Review for Tuesday, March 1st, 2002. Roll call, please.
Okay. Member Cottrell.
Here.
Member Stradiff.
Here.
Member Dahlman.
Here.
And Chair Hunter.
Here.
And members Dittmer, Kerouac, and Callahan are absent.
Okay, consideration of the minutes for February 1st meeting. We're meeting on the 1st of every month. This is weird.
Yeah.
Any questions, clarifications? That was a Zoom meeting, wasn't it?
It was.
Those are fun.
I move the minutes be approved. Second.
Okay. We still doing the roll call?
We don't have to do roll call when we're in person, so
Oh, yeah, that's
we can
cool.
just do
Okay.
all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Any
opposed?
opposed?
Mm, okay.
All right, where's my agenda? So, any non-agenda items, visitors? I see you're not a visitor, you're here. Anybody else in the studio audience that would like to?
No, I don't believe I think it's just us out there, and I don't see anyone raising their hand virtually, so I think there's nobody out there.
Okay.
For that.
Dan, you're up.
It feels so weird being in person. I haven't put on a suit in like a year. So thank you. Thank you for trying to make it normal again. Okay. Hopefully I can figure this out.
Give me a second till it hits the right, the
Okay.
full slide, and okay, now you should be good to go to advance.
Oh,
as you-
super.
you-
Okay, so let me
okay.
just make sure that I can, okay, good. Okay, great. Okay, well, I'm Diana Melikar of Melikar Architects. And this is Bobby Bell, also with Melikar Architects. And Mr. Mancuso couldn't be here tonight, but he sends his regards to everyone. Before I get into specifics of our signage requests, I'd like to give you some background regarding the Ferrari Lake Forest facility. In spring of 2017, we presented before the Architectural Board of Review to request exterior building and signage changes that were approved. At that time, Ferrari Lake Forest modified their facility inside and out from a multi-brand luxury car showroom and service center to an all-Ferrari brand showroom and service center. To that end, our client renovated their existing facility to align with the Ferrari Worldwide Corporate Identity Program, and they renamed their company from Lake Forest Sports Cars to Ferrari Lake Forest. The Ferrari Corporation requires that Ferrari Lake Forest facility and all Ferrari facilities worldwide to adhere to their corporate branding programs. Our requests this evening align with Ferrari's design requirements. Currently, Ferrari Corporation is instituting another corporate image modification, and Ferrari Lake Forest is aligning with that program. This is an image of Ferrari Lake Forest 2018 interior renovations on the left and the 2022 showroom on the right. In general, we would say that Ferrari Corporation is currently modifying their interior showrooms to incorporate less red and white and instead feature more subtle grays and natural tones. This is also the case for their exterior signage, as I will show you next. Here are exterior images of Ferrari Lake Forest's existing signage. The Ferrari Corporation is very specific regarding signage sizes, types, locations, and placement for their brand name, each individual showroom name, and Ferrari trademark images. Ferrari's corporate design department has worked very closely with Mr. Mancuso to fit their standard branding signage program into Ferrari Lake Forest's unique building and site. Signage changes that we request before you this evening are to eliminate the yellow plexiglass lighted Ferrari trademark boxes and replace them with the Ferrari polished silver backlit Cavallino prancing horse trademarks. No new signage on site nor new placements of signage are being requested. Also, no architectural or other material changes are being made to the buildings nor signage. Now I will show you the specific existing and proposed images for our signage requests. On the left is an image of the existing North Shore Drive ground sign at the entry drive to Ferrari Lake Forest facility. On the right is a sketch drawing of the proposed Cavallino change. The font will also change on the word Lake Forest. This image shows an existing photo of Ferrari Lake Forest's main entry. On the left is the existing signage with the yellow plexiglass trademark box. On the right is the proposed elevation drawing showing the Cavallino replacement. Service entry signage is located in the courtyard. Here is an image of the existing service signage on the left and a proposed drawing for the Cavallino replacement on the right. This sign is not lit. Here is an existing plan of the entire facility. Besides at the main entry, there are two other yellow plexiglass trademark boxes located on the building faces. One facing North Shore Drive, as you can see on the bottom there, and one facing Waukegan Road that's on the left. These wall signs also will be replaced with the backlit Cavallinos. On the left is an existing image of the same southwest corner of the building that I showed you in the previous plan. This light box is facing Waukegan Road. On the right is a drawing of the Cavallino replacement in that same location. The North Shore Drive facade will have the same Cavallino swap out. Moving to Waukegan Road, this image shows the existing totem sign on the left and a drawing of the proposed totem sign on the right. Again, the trademark yellow light box will be swapped out for a backlit Cavallino. In conclusion, Ferrari Corporation requires branding and signage consistency in their showrooms worldwide, and Ferrari Lake Forest is following suit. The proposed signage is low-key, tasteful, and reflects the refinement and elegance of the Ferrari product, which bodes well for the village of Lake Bluff and the surrounding community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody have any questions? Art, and we'll start down at your end.
No.
I think it's very well done, and I just wondered, do you happen to have you said they're backlit. Do you happen to have a picture of what it looks like when they're at night when they're backlit?
We don't. It's not really bright. I've seen pictures like worldwide. It's just kind of a glow. But
Oh, what I was thinking of is the horse, like on his belly, has got a lot of, I don't know what I'm looking at there, but are those openings that the light shines through? Or?
no, that's just sparkle from light.
And the other thing is, sometimes when lit signs are put up, there will end up being a cutoff switch.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that those are inside the building somewhere and not mounted up beside the horse?
No, they're not. They're not at the horse.
Yeah,
Not on the wall, in other words.
yeah. Other than that, well done.
Scott?
No, there's no new signage being requested, it's just existing signage.
Correct.
that
We're just
getting
swapping out
rebranded.
those yellow plexiglass light boxes, which ironically, when we came here the first time, one of the board members didn't like the yellow. So if she were here tonight, she'd probably appreciate this. But, yeah.
No, I
So
have no other
basically,
questions.
everything's getting toned down almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, looks nice.
Cherie?
I think it's elegant, much better than the yellow.
Okay. All right, well, my only comment is what you maybe heard is that signature that's going away, it was been on the first car in 1947 that Enzo put out. And this doesn't say Ferrari, so I assume that people that are rolling down the road will know that this is not the horseless carriage place, which has that same similar symbol on it, on the truck. Anyway, it's a nice way to do it, but don't let me get going on what car dealers make, or car manufacturers make dealers do.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's have a motion, right?
Yep.
Nice presentation, as always.
Oh, well, thank
I'll
you.
move that we recommend that to the village board that they approve the design as submitted.
Second?
Second.
Okay, nodding doesn't work. Okay, Scott seconded. All right, roll call.
Okay. Member Cottrell?
Yes.
Aye, okay. Member Dittmer?
Yes.
Member Stratoff?
Yes.
Member Dahlman?
Yes.
We usually use I, but that's okay. And Chair Hunter.
Aye, aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I have one of the plastic boxes with the horse on it?
Go ahead, talk to Rick about that.
I will.
I'm sure as a customer of his, he'll appreciate it.
Yeah, imagine. Thank you.
Kind of falls in
Okay.
the category of why do we have to
Yeah,
do anything?
right. There are a few things in that category.
All right, so we're gonna talk about building code updates now.
Yeah, right.
Fun.
So, right. Well, I think last time, when I said I was gonna do a red line draft of everything for the 2018 updates, a wise person said, why don't we just do one chapter at a time? Neil may have been that wise person. And anyway, that's what I had time to get done in the last, in our short month of February. So I've got the International Building Code chapter. Here is a red line draft. And, probably not a whole lot of excitement beyond things we've already talked about, but just, I guess in summary, some of the biggest parts of the red line changes are taking out things that essentially duplicated the administrative chapter, which is Title IX, Chapter 1, and we made a few revisions and tweaks to that last year, which were mostly organizational, kind of made the list of site plan requirements make a little more sense and separated out things that were requirements for the contractors to follow from things that are requirements for architects to put on the plans in that Chapter 1 last year. And so with our Chapter 1 now already all nice and well organized, I saw no need to contain duplication from that in Chapter 2. So a lot of the stuff at the end of this chapter is eliminating those duplications. As far as big changes, we have had for a few years now some amendments, that I think my predecessor was a proponent for, to have all non-combustible construction and have only masonry firewalls. But I think the trend in the industry and in municipalities in our area is generally to stay closer to the national codes and try to minimize our local amendments. And in that spirit, I'm recommending that we take those back out and stick to the national code on those items. Also in here is a little bit of a tweak to our fire sprinkler requirements. Something important that's coming up is our due date for unsprinklered buildings to become sprinklered by January 1st, 2026. That started back in, oh gosh, I'm gonna get the date wrong. I think it was 2006 or 2008, the village adopted a requirement that all unsprinkled commercial buildings and multifamily buildings add sprinklers in, and initially they only gave them, I want to say 3 years or so to get that done, which wasn't enough. And anyway, the village came to the realization that they'd set too short of a deadline for people and extended it by about 15 years in 2010 or 2011, and I think in 2010, and extended it out to January 1st of 2026. And I know the fire department and others, some people had complied with the original deadline, and some buildings did have the sprinklers added. I know the fire department and others are looking forward to no longer having unsprinkled commercial buildings by 2026. So that we're maintaining that as we have for the last 15 years. But the new tweak to that is there was a list of structures of what's unsprinkled and needs to become sprinklered. And looking at that list, I can see that there's some things that were never intended to be required to be sprinklered, like Mariani's greenhouses or our gazebo on the village green or some of the open park district shelters,
Right.
A few things like that. So we're trying to make that clear in the code so there's no question about which structures
Mike, one
don't
of
have to
the,
comply.
when that came through years ago, one of the issues was churches.
Right.
Where do they stand on sprinklers?
So they were given an exemption to the sprinkler requirement as long as they put in a full fire alarm system, which they all did. So now they all have a full fire alarm system in and qualify for that exemption. And
What
so,
buildings are there in town that are not sprinklered? Commercial buildings?
that's a good question. I want to say, I should look at that list again. 10 or 15?
Well,
I
you're
mean, the
talking
list-
about the ones in the park?
Yeah, there is.
There's a lot of, been, over the period of time that this has been in place, a lot of those things have changed, occupancies have changed and things have been remodeled and redone by, other tenants coming in. I just wonder if the building owners have dealt with that as they do remodeling on some of those spots.
Right, there have been a few that have done it over the years, and there were a number that did it in the early years when they thought it was only a 3-year deadline to comply. There are several that went out and put them in. There's still a few around that don't have it. In particular, the D. Marie Industrial Park has a few small buildings over by the postal annex there. There's few buildings there that are not sprinklered. There's one, the building with Yuppie Puppy and several tenants there, 5 or 6 tenants there. That's an unsprinklered building. That may be one of the few left in the industrial park, actually.
Good.
Yeah. Mhm.
There's been a number of buildings built in there since we enacted that originally thing.
Right, yep.
So,
That's true.
okay.
And whatever buildings don't have them, have they been notified, or do we notify them periodically that they've got 4 more years, or?
Yeah, I'm going to send out notices later this year before the end of the year.
That makes sense, yeah.
I know they were all notified when the codes changed. So in 2008, when we initially adopted it, everyone was notified, and then when it was changed to a 15-year deadline, everyone was notified. But it's been some years now since any notices were sent out, so we're due to send out a reminder again this year.
Is there any method to notify people when a change of ownership occurs? Somebody comes in and buys one of those buildings, is it up to the current owner to notify them that, you're under time deadline to,
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I just foresee it,
Right.
a year before the deadline, a building changes hands, and the guy's in here saying, I had no idea, I was
Yeah.
deceived, and,
Right.
That's
a good question. I should probably ask the village attorney if we could just put that requirement into the code, because maybe we should.
Well, I was thinking, maybe you could mess with the deed or the title.
Oh, record
and
something
put
on that.
Put something along the lines of a lien.
Right. That is an interesting idea. I
Well, you
wonder.
make a good point, but also somebody could lease a building with a triple net lease where the tenant is responsible for doing it, and maybe the tenant doesn't know about it.
Right. I'll talk to our village attorney and see what our options are as far as,
I suppose at the end of the day, ignorance is no excuse. That, you buy a piece of property, you're responsible for it and everything that entails, but.
you would think a savvy person would check on that, but there's probably
Well,
people out there who might not.
that would not be something that would occur to me.
Yeah.
In
yeah.
terms of that there might be some kind of building requirement out there in the future, 2-3 years, whatever.
Right.
That, you're worried about floods and, all those sorts of things, but.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
that's a
When you
good
go to
point.
get title insurance, that would not show up.
Right.
If you buy a building and you get title insurance, the fact that there's a code requirement of doing this would not show, that's,
Right, that's why I was saying mess with the title somehow, so, there would be, maybe he didn't read the fine print at closing, but just the same, it was disclosed somehow to him, or would have been.
When I was on the HPC and we were trying to see if we could get the real estate community to, actually, we tried to do it by deed, I think. If the house was deeded historic, could that be in the deed somehow on the paper? Because somebody buys a house, and if they know it's historic, they either think, oh, goody, that's great, or I don't want to have anything to do with it because now I can't do what I want. And so our effort there was to try and get it into somehow into the document so it can't be hidden, and I don't know whether that ever happened.
I think there's an ordinance landmarking the house, and then that is recorded, so that does show up in the title search.
Okay, all right, because, it's kind of along the similar line.
Right.
There's a,
Right, that's a good point.
okay, so what else on that? Is that it? Oh, I had a question. Given the where things seem to be going, at least in some of the larger buildings with heavy timber construction, that is really not addressed at least, is it in here somewhere that I didn't see?
Well, I think one of the changes in the IBC in recent years has been to allow taller timber buildings.
Right.
And so that, but they're only allowed when they're fully sprinklered. And so that would become allowed because we are taking out our local amendment that we've had for a few years, that says, only non-combustible construction is allowed for commercial. So, that would be allowed, although, tall timber buildings, we don't really have.
We don't have those.
Yeah, we don't have buildings of that height, really, that they're talking about when they say tall timber buildings.
Right.
So, yeah.
What else?
I don't think I really have anything else I want to bring up on that, so.
Anybody else have any questions on this? Scott, you're kind of in the middle of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions. I think it's a good idea.
All right, okay, moving on then.
Okay, yep, so just process-wise, I'll,
No, the
I'll
next
bring the
chapter
other
is-
chapter drafts in, and, I don't know whether I'll have all of them ready next time, or just some of them, we'll see. And then once we've, finished discussing amongst ourselves, we'll have a public hearing, I'll do some outreach, ask people to forward things on to their friends in local, construction, architects, all that, and we'll have a public hearing here, and then make a recommendation to the village board.
I don't see anything
Controversial?
controversial. Like when we did the sprinkler thing, this room was full of contractors.
Oh, yeah,
And real
right.
estate people.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of it was just not that they were against it, they didn't understand it. And
Right.
anyway, okay, so now we're gonna just kind of have a brief discussion on, liquid controls building that, obviously is sold.
Yeah, it's old, and people are gonna turn it into a self-storage building and do a big addition on the east side. I thought they might be ready to come here for a preliminary discussion tonight, but they didn't, they said they weren't far enough along with their plans, but they did send some plans along to share, so I thought I'd show them and we could discuss them, and I could give them a little feedback before they come here before us next month
Okay,
with all
so
their stuff. So,
who has thoughts on this?
and just one thing to mention, it's a little bit hard to read the plans, but there's kind of a double line on the floor plan and that outlines the existing building, and then everything, toward the top of the page on that is the addition to the east side, to the Route 41 side for this building.
I drove around there the other day, and I think I told you, I had no idea there was that much property behind this thing. It's huge.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it goes almost all the way to the
And the
highway.
entire parking lot, which obviously they don't need. So there's a lot of property here.
Right.
Is there a site plan?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
We should have one next month. And I think this is phase 1 and 2, phase 1 being the interior of this existing building, phase 2 being the addition on the east, and I believe they have plans for a phase 3, which would be a couple additional freestanding buildings to the southern part of the property where the parking lot is now, and that would be garages that people can rent to store cars.
Well, Bob, you mentioned how much extra land they've got to the east. I was out there one time, maybe a couple of years ago, and there were some people out there, so I asked what they were doing. They said that it was like a fire drill. In the middle of that extra land, there was like an area there that if they ever got a fire in liquid controls, which could be devastating, that's where they were to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
Interesting.
they're also, though, they're expanding to the south, too.
Oh, is that right? I thought it was just to the east.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Or do you think they're
Where
expanding
this
to the
little
south?
notch is, isn't that,
Well, let's look at the south elevation on the drawing. I see a lot of, I think the south edge of the building is existing other than the side of it. So I don't
oh,
think
okay.
they're expanding
Yeah,
south.
you're right, you're right. That is the windows there.
Right, yeah.
Okay, any thoughts on this, folks?
Art, you're rubbing the microphone with the drawing. Oh. Raise that.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Neil, what do you think?
I know I tried to look at this on my computer and when it first came out to us,
Uh-huh.
and I found I couldn't look at this on the computer and get any idea what I was looking at.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's interesting, I'm not sure until we see site plan and everything, how,
Well, they're doing a major thing here, Scott, what do you think?
My only question is, traffic, how people come and go, how many people are using this thing and how often they arrive. And other than that, it's not really an occupied building, right, except for products and contents.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah. Right, just people dropping their stuff off or picking their stuff up.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's a good thing they sold the building. And it's gonna produce taxes. And I wouldn't see where the traffic would be as bad as a lot of other options.
Not as bad as it would be if it was occupied by
Right.
liquid controls.
I mean,
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
people don't go into their storage units that much.
True.
So,
It's hard to comment without seeing a site plan. I don't know if
Yeah,
people
no,
are parking on the street.
you're
and
you're
whatnot.
right, because I don't know what they're gonna do with that parking lot then, because it's huge, it probably hold 300 cars.
maybe they'll end up putting an expansion out in the parking lot. It seems to be a positive that they sold it.
Art, what do you think?
Really, to me, it's not enough information here to, to really tell what's going on.
Well, it's a box with a bunch of little boxes inside.
Yeah.
Right. And, architecturally, it doesn't seem much different than the existing building.
I was wondering, Sheree, when you mentioned the parking lot, I don't remember what the code says, but do they have to have I'm thinking of, at some point down the road, the use could be changed. And if it became an intense light assembly building where there's lots and lots of employees, we probably have to provide a certain amount of availability to have a certain amount of parking space regardless
Yeah,
of how many are planned for it. so.
right. Because if they ever decide to sell it,
Then they have to undo all those little boxes
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's my big question, why change materials?
yeah.
What we're doing is we got a precast building with windows in it, and now we're going to metal panels with what's trying to kind of replicate the banding of the windows, only it's just painted panels. And I'm not quite sure what the reasoning is behind that, unless it's because it's less expensive, which is not our problem. I remember when we did this building, and, at the time, it was, given what it was not a bad building. So that's my only question. Otherwise, I think it'd be just fine if they just left it all blank. It's the old decorate something that doesn't need to be decorated to make it look like something that's not. That's just my theory.
So what they intend to do is sheathe the exterior with these insulated metal panels on both the existing and the new.
I think they're only putting them on the new.
Yeah, some of the elevations say
No, it
existing
says
aggregate.
existing, I see it, yes.
Yeah, right. They're using EFS to close up some existing openings that they're eliminating, I see on the north elevation.
So is that a rain screen type finish now? Panels?
I think right now it's painted precast concrete walls. I would think a good landscape plan would be an important part of their
Yeah,
submission.
there's a lot of blank here, but I just don't get why you would not keep going with the same material and not try and make a panel look like glass. Doesn't quite line up, doesn't fit.
Okay, well,
My comment only.
Good point.
I'll mention something to them about
But,
that.
that's just me. I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody else noticed that or not, but.
I didn't notice it, but now that you pointed it out, I agree with you. It's, they should stick with the same material.
And it would be a very long, blank, white wall, but that's okay. It's kind of a background, nothing then.
Now, they say it's aggregate, is that like an exposed aggregate?
It's really,
finish?
it's pretty
it's paint?
smooth. From a distance, it looks like smooth precast. And I didn't get up close to it, but it's nice and white and, it's not bad. We're not making any decisions here.
No,
If
no,
you
we're
want to
not.
lead them in
Yeah,
a direction,
right.
now's the time to do it.
Good point, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, they have everything put together and detailed and.
Would it be less expensive with the metal panels?
I have no idea, but
Maybe that's
again,
why they do it.
that's really not our problem.
That's correct.
If it was a gold building, they wanted to make it,
Well, generally, construction doesn't get much cheaper than tilled-up precast, but.
Yeah, I would think.
But on the other hand, maybe they could do, light gauge steel framing and, put these panels over it. I don't know.
Yeah. well. Okay, well, I'll pass on that feedback to them, and hopefully we'll see them here next time.
I guess based on your prior comment, it'll be fully sprinkled.
Yes, right,
Well, this one is anyway, this building's
Yeah.
not all that old.
right.
Probably, well, the existing one probably is already.
What was the original,
It is.
what was the business that they were in?
Liquid Controls,
Yeah.
oh, they do just what they said, Liquid Controls. They did a lot of stuff for Abbott's and they make high-techy things that, and they're all over the place.
Like control systems for valves, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Controlled valves and flows of liquids and plants and stuff.
Was it an assembly plant or manufacturing?
It was,
There's a lot
yeah.
of office in here too.
Yeah.
Are they owned by
Lots of
IDEX?
office space.
IDEX? I think they were owned by IDEX, weren't they?
I think they bought them at some point a few years back, yeah.
Yeah, IDEX did liquid controls. My husband worked for a company that had been bought by IDEX,
Oh, okay.
so.
Fred Wacker was president for a while, quite a while. You mean, yeah.
All right.
So, that it?
That's all I've got?
All right. When's our next meeting?
Well, whichever date the first Tuesday of April is.
All right, so next time we get here, it's gonna be outside, it's gonna be warm, and it's gonna be 74.
Right,
That's the hope.
Okay, we need to adjourn this thing.
right, would someone like to make a motion?
Someone make a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to go?
I don't know how to do it. I motion to adjourn.
That worked. Second.
Aye.
All right, we are done.
All in favor?
All in favor, right?
Aye, okay, motion
Here,
passes.
you can keep my stuff? Good work.
Sure.
Thank
Made
you.
your first
Yeah,
motion here.
yeah.